Ladies and gents, welcome to UX, and this is Artifact Smuggling and Tax Avoidance Hobby Lobby. This is my channel, Fat Files. Yeah. Okay, this is like Chain's video from Fat Files. He's been making a lot of videos like this from different, like, it's been really awesome on Aldi's and things like that. He made a Crocs video, the recent one. Is he going to talk about literal Crocs? Yes, he's going to talk about, I don't even know what that is. So yeah, he's done a lot of these chains videos. So this Hobby Lobby is another chain. I'm not gonna lie, 4 years ago when I heard of Hobby Lobby, I'm like, wait a minute, is this something to do with Congress or something? The lobbying, because it has word lobby in it. Then I realized, no, it's some kind of a chain. Yeah, okay. So, the last one I watched was not positive, let's just say. Usually I expect positive things from Fat Files, like, oh, some badass chain from some badass person. But the last one was like, the opposite spectrum of that. So is this going to be like that? I don't know. It's going to be interesting though. Let's watch this one.
All right, here's the deal. My wife dragged me into a Hobby Lobby, and I was in that store for all of about 30 seconds before I knew they were up to something. So I go home, I look into it, and what I found is so insane. I wasn't even mad. I was just impressed. All right, look, if you don't know, Hobby Lobby is the biggest arts and crafts chain in the United States. Technically, Michael's has more locations, but Hobby Lobby makes way more money, so I'm calling them the biggest. Last year, they made $7.9 billion selling knickknacks and arts and crafts supplies. On top of that, they pay their employees $19.25 an hour minimum wage. On top of that, they donate 50% of their profits to charity, and then if you Google them, you find out they've been involved in more high-profile scandals than a Kennedy family reunion, including smuggling religious artifacts into the United States and somehow turning them into a massive tax write-off. And we're going to get into all of it right after a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Supremacy World War III, a free online PvP military-based strategy game. It's based on a World War III type scenario where you can pick your country or you can pick a state inside of the United States because, well, let's face it, that's the only way it's going to be fair to everybody else. We just saw what Missouri did to Iran. Now, personally, I like to start off playing as Iowa for obvious reasons. Sometimes I like to attack Minnesota right out of the gate, turn them into Upper Iowa. Sometimes I like to attack Nebraska so I can prove once and for all that our corn is better. Okay, and I know what you're thinking. Why don't you attack Missouri? Well, for obvious reasons, they have B-2 stealth bombers and I don't want the smoke. I mean, I'm gonna fight them eventually, but I need some time to build up my army with tanks, jets, and nuclear subs. So if you want to give Supremacy World War III a try, it's free, both available on PC and mobile. If you use my link and discount code down below, you're gonna get a bunch of extra freebies. Let's get back to the video.
If you fight B2 bomber, you'll get nothing but smoke. That's the only thing that'll be left.
All right, we're just gonna take this from the top. Let me set the scene for you so we can go on this voyage together. Wife drags me to a place called Hobby Lobby. It's in what appears to be an abandoned Kmart. We take 2 steps inside the door, and in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is clearly the knick-knack / gift shop area of the store. They've done what a lot of other places do, like Cracker Barrel, museums, tourist attractions. They have the little gift shop knick-knack area right by the doors so they can upsell you on the way in and the way out. That makes sense to me. Never really seen it in a department store, so that's kind of unique, but whatever. So we continue.
Yeah, Cracker Barrel thing is like a lot. Even I would notice that in a lot of shops, like taking inspiration from that, like having gift shop in front. Cracker Barrel thing, like his whole, like, yeah, but I'm pretty sure like they bounce back, right? People told me in the comments, like, yeah, they are going anti-woke now. Like, so that was like, as Fat Tucson thought, it was a stunt of some kind. But yeah.
Walking through the store and I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, this knick-knack gift shop area is enormous. And then we keep walking. And we keep walking, and the knickknacks just never fucking end. They're everywhere. And then it dawns on me, the entire abandoned Kmart I'm inside of is one giant gift shop. At this point, the logical side of my brain is like, there's absolutely no way. So I start picking up the pace. I walk every aisle. I walk the entire store, progressively going into more and more of an existential crisis because there's absolutely no way that an abandoned Kmart full of knickknacks is a profitable business. But that's it. It's the whole thing. It's nothing but knickknacks. So I just stop in the middle of an aisle. I pull out my phone. I Google, how much money does Hobby Lobby make annually? $7.9 billion last year. There's no fucking way.
I don't believe you.
I've walked the entire store at this point.
People, that is not what they're worth. That is what they made. Profit. They made $8 billion in profit. That shit is insane.
It's just knickknacks and arts and craft supplies. That's it. The entire store is literally an elderly woman throwing the world's biggest garage sale inside of an abandoned Kmart, and somehow they're making a shit ton of money. At this point, I'm thinking like, okay, they're selling drugs out the back door or something. There's no way to logically explain this. So I get back together with my wife. She's got all the knickknacks and shit that she's buying. We go into checkout, and I'm standing in this checkout longer than I'm standing at the DMV. There's like 3 people in front of me. It takes fucking forever to get through this checkout line. So I asked my wife, I'm like, what is taking so long? I don't understand. And she's like, oh, Hobby Lobby always takes forever to check out at because they don't use barcodes. They have to type everything in by hand.
9
THD03.
T
Okay, now at this point, I'm having a full-blown panic attack because I know that barcodes came out in the late 1940s because they were inspired by Morse code, and some dude that worked on the Manhattan Project invented them right after World War II. And now it's 2025 and we're not using them inside of the store. There's no fucking way. I am 99% sure I died in a car wreck on the way to Hobby Lobby, and now I'm stuck in knick-knack purgatory. Okay, then I take a deep breath and I'm like, okay, I think I'm alive. Okay, there's got to be an explanation for this. And I'm like,
Yeah, Einstein came up with the laser. He had no idea what the lasers were. It will literally be known for being advanced and next level. Laser precision, laser this, laser just became that thing. That if you want something precise, next level thing, it's laser. Everything has laser, barcodes and everything. Whatever you can think of, there's a laser behind it to have it. That's how precision work in the modern time. Einstein had no idea about that, like that's how it's gonna go. But then again, that goes with a lot of Einstein things. But yeah, like not having like barcode and things, that's just insane.
go. Obviously, they're selling drugs out of the back, so it makes sense that they want to make checking out at this store as difficult as possible because they don't actually want to sell any of the fucking knickknacks because that's not how they make money. They make money off selling all the nose torque out of the back, right? So they're not going to want to sell the knickknacks, so that's why they make it as difficult as possible. Okay, it's got to be what's going on. So I finally get to checkout. Very nice elderly woman there being my cashier. She's very polite. She's very friendly. I start full on interrogating this woman. I'm polite about it, but I'm like, do you like working here? And she's like, actually, I love working here. I've been here for fucking like 20 years. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm like, well, what do you like about it? And she's like, well, they pay us a lot of money for how hard the job is. So I like it. We get good benefits. The company donates 50% of its profit to charity. And I'm like, okay, well, they're not selling drugs here. That's weird. And I'm like, do you mind me asking, like, how much do they
50% to charity? Like, I'm surprised when I hear of that. Like, but there are many companies like that. In India, there is a company called Tata, who owns Land Rovers and Jaguars, right? So all Range Rovers, Land Rovers, Jaguars, whenever you buy, the money goes to Tata because Tata owns it. And the guy Tata who died recently, but I don't know if his sons or whatever, whoever came in charge, changed it or not, but he basically gave away most of his profit to charity. He basically took very little of it just to get by, but most of the profit went to charity. Tata charity, this and that. And I'm like, what the fuck? I had no idea. Tata was like next level rich guy, right? Like there are many in India, but it's like next level rich guy. And knowing that level of rich guy was giving away most of his profit, that surprised me. So Hobby Lobby is similar thing, like 50% of it just giving to charity.
They pay you guys? And she's like, well, I've been here for 20 years. I make more than a lot of people here, but our starting salary is $19.25 an hour is our minimum wage here.
Get the fuck out of here.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, no,
You know how fucked up that is? Like, because there are a lot of places where they just give you like $6 an hour or something, and then like you can make up with tips or something, right? Like if you, I don't know, as a service job, whatever kind of, like, so yeah, you'll make up with tips and I'll give you like $6 an hour. That's so common, and they are giving $20 an hour. That's something.
Okay, now I'm completely flabbergasted. I'm now absolutely positive that I did die in a car wreck on the way here, and I am in fact stuck in purgatory. And she finishes checking out. I pay for my stuff, and I was like, "Am I allowed to leave?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "If I walk out that door right now, it's not just going to turn into me walking back in, is it?" And she just looks at me like I'm crazy because I fucking am at this point. And she's like, "No." And then I walk out, I get in my car, and I fucking go home.
Okay.
All right, so here's what happened. 1970, the founder of Hobby Lobby, David Green, took out a $600 loan and started making custom picture frames in his garage. And apparently that business went pretty well because by 1972, he opened up a 300 square foot arts and crafts store in Oklahoma City. And then 2 years later, he opens up another one, and then another one, and another one. And the next thing you know, he's got 1,000 arts and crafts stores all over the United States of America. How is that even possible? Well,
Hobby lobby. Okay, now I get hobby. So arts and crafts. That's people's hobby. So yeah, you do that. We sell that here. Type. Okay, makes sense.
Well, in Oklahoma in the 1970s, when he was getting started, there was a humongous oil boom, and that's where like the oil industry is primarily located, is Oklahoma and Texas. So everybody that was living in that area had a bunch of excess money. So all the housewives and stuff were going and buying a bunch of arts and crafts and a bunch of fucking knickknacks, and it just made his business explode with the oil boom. And now, hindsight being 2020, when I'm not actively surrounded by all the knickknacks and arts and crafts, you're able to step back and actually analyze it. And the business model does really work because they're knickknacks, they're arts and crafts. They never go bad, right? Like, it's not like a perishable item at a grocery store that like, I need to sell this by this time frame. Like, no, if I don't sell all the Christmas stuff this year, I'm just gonna throw it in a box in the back and I'll pull it back out next Christmas season. We'll sell it then. So he really
Yeah, but balancing act. That's not a fair way to describe that. Yeah, it's that, but it's also not a commodity. Those things do go bad, but those are commodities. People need it. People don't need arts and crafts, right? So if economy is even doing slightly bad, nobody's gonna buy it. So it's just like balancing act, right? Like yeah, it's not gonna go bad, but like people might not buy it either. So how do they sell so much that they're making $8 billion selling all these things?
doesn't have anything going bad. He has no overhead as far as I'm gonna lose this if I can't sell it right away. On top of that, I was correct. It was an abandoned Kmart. They literally go and seek out abandoned department stores to put Hobby Lobbies inside of to cut costs and overhead.
Shit just got real.
Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, it's
Spirit,
actually the
okay.
simplest business
Yeah,
model
I
on the
love you.
planet. They just import a bunch of cheap shit from China, mark it up 10x, throw it on the shelf for a month. If it doesn't sell, they slap a 40% off poster on that entire shelf. Then people think they're saving money. They swoop in, they buy it all up, they assemble the arts and crafts themselves, and they sell it on Etsy. It's basically the spawn point for Etsy, essentially. It's just the chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A concept. They picked one thing they want to be good at, they became the best in the world at it. Okay, David Green is the Michael Jordan of selling arts and crafts and knickknacks. That's all there is to it. So how on earth did he do it? This is the crazy part. Nobody knows, including him.
No clue.
I literally read his entire book. It's called Leadership Not by the Book. And essentially, David Green is a super religious Christian man. He's literally the son of a preacher. And he basically says that Hobby Lobby is owned by God. He's just looking out for it. So whenever he has a big business decision to make, he prays about it and waits for God to tell him what to do. And then he does it. And somehow, it always works out. Like the dude is literally just running Hobby Lobby off of vibes and it's working. It's literally either got to be divine intervention or he's the luckiest man in the history of the planet. Now his religious conviction.
Okay, if we remove religious element from that, let's just think rationally. How does psychologically work? There is an element of like finding the right balance. Let's just say overthinking is also an issue. Over worrying is an issue. So people, when they approach a business, they worry so much, they miss the window or miss the opportunity, right? Or they just basically stress out so much that they back down. That is most things. A lot of people who like, if they just jumped to it, grabbed it, it might have worked. Obviously, there are both sides of it. Like, yeah, but there are people who just jumps to all in and loses everything. But just by having faith in God, which means like you're still going to use your brain, you're still going to think about it, but you're going to have this kind of a confidence and move forward. So that worked probably.
Convictions are also what drove him to do what I would deem as a lot of pretty good stuff, like giving all of his employees a $19.25 an hour minimum wage and benefits. They also donate 50% of their annual profits to charity, which at face value is just good in general, but also if you're working at that company making well above industry standard for being a cashier or a retail worker, and then you also get the added benefit of knowing that like, hey, my company's making a bunch of money off my back, but a lot of that money is going back into charity. I'm doing some good in the world. So it's just good for the overall culture of the company. And then of course they're closed on Sunday, which regardless of whether you're religious or not, if you work in retail, you know you're always working weekends, so it's nice for the retail workers to get a weekend day off to get the same day off as the rest of society. Now, those same religious convictions also get him in a bunch of trouble because they've had a ton of controversies. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the vast majority of them, in my opinion, are a gigantic nothing burger. They're basically people looking for reasons to get upset.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
Except for that time they got busted for smuggling artifacts. That one was legit, but we'll get there.
I'm not gonna lie, that scene, I mean, I don't look at Marvel for like awesome scenes because like cringy, not cringy, but you know, like just basic superhero movies. It's not some like badass cinematic like some like Tarantino movie or some shit like that, right? Scorsese movie or something like that. It's not that. It's Marvel movie. But that scene was so good, right? Like she was just amped up, and you know the backstory because you watched many movies up until then. And you're like, oh, I was waiting for that. And Thanos like, I don't even know who the fuck you are. That was so perfect, man.
We'll just gloss over the other ones real quick. They got busted because they weren't selling enough Hanukkah stuff at their Christian arts and crafts store, which, okay, like I'm willing to bet they weren't selling a lot of Muslim holiday stuff at the Christian arts and crafts store either. I don't go to Burger King and get mad they don't have fucking pizza. Like, you're looking for reasons to get upset. Okay, it's 2025. If a store doesn't have what you want, get on Amazon and order it. It'll be there tomorrow. Why are you picking fights for no reason? Next thing, they got in trouble over women's contraceptive with their insurance, and they actually took this case all the way to the Supreme Court. Like, David Green was willing to let Hobby Lobby go bankrupt and close all of them over this fight. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing, but part of me's
No, that's not a good thing, but at the same time, like he's Christian, so you can see where his thinking is, right? Like he doesn't care about business at that level, but his priority is basically that.
Always going to respect a man that's willing to put his balls on the line for what he believes in. So here's what happened. The birth control controversy gets played off like Hobby Lobby wasn't willing to pay for birth control with their insurance for any of its female employees. That's a partial truth. The actual truth is they weren't willing to pay for the morning after pill or the week after pill. All the other birth control was fine. Which, regardless of how you feel about it, that's on brand for an evangelical Christian. And whether that's right or not, I don't really have any strong convictions on, but I will say this, it seems very silly to take that court.
I'm rational scientific guy, so obviously I don't like that, but I understand that because if you're a Christian, how you perceive of things like day after and all that, like, yeah, those pills, you're not gonna like it, right? Like you're not gonna encourage that. Like you have the mentality like, okay, we are all Christians here, why are you doing that type of shit? Which is not great, obviously, but yeah, you can see where the thinking is.
Case all the way to the Supreme Court, spending millions and millions of dollars fighting for the right to force him to buy the morning after pill when the morning after pill is $10 fucking. You could have taken all the millions you spent trying to sue him into submission and bought every employee at Hobby Lobby 50 fucking morning after pills and gave it to him for free and just solved the fucking problem. And that's the majority of their controversies. They're all just culture war nonsense issues. But then we get to the religious artifact smuggling.
If you're making $20 an hour, right? $10 pill is not that much, right? And how many of those you're gonna need? It's not like diabetes pill or something like you have to take every day type of shit. Like you're gonna need it when you're gonna need it.
All right, so before we get into this, I got to give you guys some background on like tax law and tax code, just so we're all on the same page. Some of this is going to be a review for a lot of you guys, but some of this is just misconceptions that people have. Okay, so first thing we have to understand is what is a tax write-off? Because a lot of people think they understand it, they actually don't.
It's when you buy something for your business and the government pays you back for it.
Oh, and who pays for it?
Nobody. You write it off.
People hear tax write-off and they think, oh, that's money that they save right out of the gate. That's not really how that works. So I'm just going to give you a real life example to clear it up, okay? Hypothetically speaking, say that I make $100,000 a year and I donate $1,000 to charity, okay? People seem to have the conception that now I have to pay $1,000 less in taxes. That's not how that works. So you didn't actually save $1,000.
Yeah, you're not gonna pay taxes on that $1,000, I guess.
You saved $400 and donated $600. Now it's like normal people doing charitable donation type stuff, but when rich people like billionaires and big companies, they have ways of getting tax write-offs that actually make them money. The most notorious and most famous is the fine art method. Okay, so if a company like Hobby Lobby, hypothetically speaking, comes along and wants to invest in some fine art. Say they go to a fancy New York art gallery and they buy a painting for $100,000 and they sit on it for 5 years. And then 5 years later, they hire some fancy art appraiser to come in and appraise this piece of art. And the art appraiser comes in and says, oh my God, this thing's absolutely brilliant. I think it's worth $20 million. Then the company can donate that artwork to a museum and their tax write-off is not for the $100,000 they spent on the painting. The tax write-off is for the $20 million that it's appraised at. So they didn't save 40% of $100,000. They didn't save that $40,000 in tax write-offs. They saved 40% of $20 million in tax write-offs. So effectively, they paid $100,000 to get out of paying millions of dollars in taxes. Is that right? I have no idea, but it's absolutely 100% legal. Hobby Lobby decided they were going to do the same thing, but instead of buying fine art,
Yeah, so you hear about when movies, they don't do well. People are like, you can just do it. This is a tax write-off. What does that mean? If you make a $200 million movie and you know it's not even going to make back 20 million, it's better to have a tax write-off because you know you're going to get 40% off from the taxes, basically. I understand that now. I don't think that's how it works where I live, but yeah, I guess now I have the right picture. I always assume like tax write-off usually means that whatever the item is, you're not going to pay taxes for that, but no, this is how it works.
They decided that they were going to buy ancient religious artifacts because, well, that's what they're into. They're evangelical Christians. They want to be able to buy all these Christian artifacts as an investment, and then they could donate them to a museum, make sure that those things are then preserved for history, and they get to save millions of dollars in taxes while doing it. It's a win-win as far as they're concerned. So in like 2010, they just start buying up all the biblical artifacts that they can find. They have no experience in buying this stuff, and when you buy something like this, there's like channels and ways that you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to, I don't know, make sure it wasn't fucking stolen from another museum, for example. They don't do any of the checks. They were warned that they were going about this the wrong way. They just kept buying up thousands and thousands and thousands of artifacts, despite the fact they bought fucking chunks of the Dead Sea Scroll, which wound up later to be fake because, again, they didn't hire the right people to help them do this. And they ended up buying all these cuneiform tablets out of Iraq, including the Dream Tablet, which is part of the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the first human stories ever written down from Mesopotamia 3,500 years ago. Like, it's a pretty important artifact. It's literally like the Ark of the Covenant, Epic of Gilgamesh, and the Rosetta Stone. Like, it's crazy how important this artifact is, and they bought it. And oddly enough, it ended up being looted from a museum in Iraq in 2003, and they were not supposed to have it.
That belongs in a museum. So do you.
So around this point, the government...
Yeah, Epic of Gilgamesh is like big deal because literally the first, like story, fiction, whatever you call it, like first one, right? First novel, I don't know. So yeah, that has value. Like as a civilization, even 10,000 years from now, that's going to be looked at as like the first thing, which is like pretty fucking important.
Gets involved and they start asking questions, at which point, Hobby Lobby kind of pleads ignorant, like, oh, I'm just, a billionaire and I didn't know that I had to go through all these checks and balances to buy this kind of stuff. They basically play it off like, I didn't know any better, my bad, which, you know what? Maybe, but they shot themselves in the foot because when they imported them into the US, they had them labeled in US customs as ceramic tile samples, which...
How do you do that if you're this big? Like, I don't get it. How the fuck do you make that kind of fuck off? Like, you do that when you have nothing on the line, like you're a contractor or something or smuggler, not when you have a company and actual like collaterals on it. Like you can get completely screwed. If you're a proper limited company like this big of a company, you can't fuck up like this. And negligence is that never works in court. Oh, I didn't know any better. Negligence never works, man.
Not true. So they ended up getting in a shit ton of trouble. They had to return the Epic of Gilgamesh and like 3,000 other artifacts over. They got returned to Iraq and Egypt, and they had to pay a $3 million fine. But there was a bunch of other artifacts that they did get to keep. And then with those artifacts, they had them appraised, and I was able to find that the average appraisal that they got was approximately 3 times what they actually paid for them. And then they donated them to a museum and got a huge tax write-off. And that is where most people quit digging because that was enough damning evidence, and most people just care about making Hobby Lobby look bad. I don't care about making Hobby Lobby look bad. I just want to know what the fuck happened. I like facts. I like the truth. So I asked one simple question. What museum did they donate them to? They donated them to the Bible Museum in Washington, D.C., to which I had one more question. Who owns the Bible Museum? Motherfucking David Green, the same one that owns Hobby Lobby.
Son of a bitch.
Do you understand what I've just told you? Okay, dude literally became a billionaire by selling knickknacks and is like, you know what? I'm into religious artifacts. I'm gonna start a collection because I'm a
Hold up, but isn't if you donate to museum, even if you're owned, you don't own the items in museum. Now it's public, it's a museum thing. Like it's not yours. You can just take it on and walk away. So it is kind of donating, isn't it? Like, okay, now it's part of the museum, even though I own the museum. It's a museum thing, right? Like there must be some legality there. I don't know.
billionaire. I can do whatever the fuck I want, which, you know what? Good for you. That's great. He starts his little collection and then he's like, you know, it'd be cool if I donated these to a museum, but also I'm a collector. Collectors like having their own shit. That's the whole point of collecting something. How can I possibly get a humongous tax write-off and also get to keep all my cool shit? Oh, I know. I'll just own the museum that I'm donating stuff to so I still get to control everything. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but it's absolutely brilliant. Buh! So him being super religious is all just an act so he can look like a good guy, but he's actually not. Buh! No, that's not what that means at all. It is not hypocritical for a Christian to avoid taxes, okay? At no point in the Bible was Jesus ever like, hey guys, what if we gave the Romans more money? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not co-signing everything this guy does. I'm just saying I'm good at...
But then again, Romans were supposed to be Romans. If Jesus Christ started his own country and then he was doing the same thing, it was different, right? America's supposed to be Christian country in a way. But yeah, like in the end of the day, like it works, I guess. There's a reason why those things are at place. See, that's the thing. If you have laws and like rules in the place and even in the legal area, you can circumvent some of them. Like that's how it's supposed to sometimes works. I guess why not? Because you have an opposite spectrum of that as well when people get screwed even with the legality. So it goes both ways.
Putting myself in other people's shoes to understand their perspective, and from a very, very Christian man's perspective, being able to give less money to the government so they can, I don't know, buy $60,000 missiles to shoot at people that live in mud huts, so he can collect biblical artifacts, put them in a museum, preserve them for everybody else, and share them with the world, hopefully convincing more people to become Christian to save them, is probably a net positive from his point of view. I'm just saying, you can call this guy a lot of things, but you cannot say he's not a legitimate, super devout Christian. Because at the end of the day, for better or worse, he was legitimately willing to close Hobby Lobby down over the Plan B thing, and he still gives away 50% of his profits to charity. Now, granted, some of that 50% of profits is him buying cool biblical artifacts and sticking them in his museum, but again, from his perspective, that's a good thing because he's sharing the word of God and trying to, you know, help educate people and preserve it for mankind. Facts are facts, and whether you like it or not, this is 100% legal, and I usually, more often than not, subscribe to the theory of don't hate the player, hate the game. I need to start a World War II museum, buy a bunch of cool shit, and then donate it to myself and save a bunch of money. Anyways, thanks for watching my knick-knack-induced panic attack. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out. All right, I gotta go call Brandon Herrera. Definitely not to pitch him a war hero and gun history museum. Okay, bye. Oh, wait, hold on. I actually have an announcement. All right, for 4th of July, I'm giving away a fully decked out Jeep Gladiator. It has absolute...
Damn, all right. Yeah, I'm gonna buy a car like that, truck like that. I was gonna do that, but then I'm like, maybe it's not practical, but I'm like, fuck it, I don't care about practical. With a proper Iron Man suspension and like race time like that, I don't, yeah. Oh, all right. The Hobby Lobby, like, yeah, that is... This was badass somewhat. Like 8 billion in profit is not a joke, and this tax write-off, like, I guess that's capitalism. That's how America works. Like, don't try to swim against the flow, whatever it's called, right? I mean, yeah, he has confidence because of his like religious thing. Like, I just do what God tells me. So confidence. Obviously, he has some brain cell in his head, so he knows what to do, what not to do, and he's having success. On top of that, he's giving people decent wage. Right? Donating 50%, which is more than most can say. Apple can't do that, right? Even though Apple has more money than anyone else. Apple literally liquidated money, like actual fucking money, not some, oh, this is invested. They have physical money, raw money, whatever you want to call it, as a big reserve. They're not donating like 50% to charity. Imagine if Apple donated 50% of profit to charity, right? They try to do that red phone thing. I don't even know how much that made. I don't know. Yeah. All right, well, this was interesting, man. To me, still, like, to this day, that big question, how did this become successful? Because even the guy who made it doesn't know. Nobody knows. That's a big thing, because this kind of like a arts and craft thing. This, like, you hear about people making that, but they don't really make that much money, because how much are they going to sell anyway? Somebody actually making a proper company based on that and making 8 billion a year, that's insane. Right? I'll see you next time.